Bonsoir, je m'appelle Chloe. Good evening, my name is Chloe, and I'm so excited to be speaking to you all about the famed France. We all know her as a cultural center for art, literature, history, and enlightenment. She's home to the city of lights, love, and fashion, and synonymous with romanticism and revolution. We respect her proud standards, and we feel pretty fancy when we do, say, eat, or wear anything French. I chose to analyze French culture and intercultural communication between Americans and the French because, unfortunately, she is also often associated in the American eye with stiff posture and snooty looks, and perhaps a cold disposition toward the always visiting English speaker. These kinds of judgments and assumptions sounded like classic cases of miscommunication between high and low context cultures, misinterpreted nationalism, and a clash of masculine and feminine ideals. My hope is that this 10-minute presentation will allow you to receive the true intentions of the French in their communication, leaving you feeling welcomed, able to be expressive, and equipped to be a confident and competent intercultural communicator in the high context, nationalistic, feminine culture that is French. So let's get started. On y va! France is a high context culture. A high context culture prefers to use high context messages, in which most of the meaning is either implied by the physical setting or is presumed to be part of the individual's internalized beliefs, values, norms, and social practices. Very little is provided in the coded explicit transmission part of the message. So even if you speak French, what is said and written in formal communication is often kept to a bare minimum, at least when viewed from an American perspective. As a low context culture, information is readily available and updates are often provided automatically in the US, while in France, one is expected to ask to find out. As a student, do not feel ignored or disregarded by a teacher if they do not give you a class syllabus with an outline of class-by-class due dates or communicate the exact desired formatting of a paper. Instead, consider that your professor does not want to insult your intelligence by explaining the obvious. You'll most likely feel that you've been given no direction, but do not let a French person's assumption of shared understanding frustrate you in huffing and puffing over an unclear assignment. I would suggest politely asking for clarification in person as soon as you don't understand. As our book informed us, in a high context culture, it is very easy to tell who is a member of the group and who is not. We call these in-groups and out-groups. Because so much of the meaning of messages is embedded in the rules and rituals of situations, it is easy to tell who is acting according to these norms. Here are some norms in the French culture that could lead us as Americans to feel a part of the out-group. Being too friendly. The French do not smile unless they have something explicit to smile about. Too much eye contact and expression may upset a French person, causing them to wonder what you want from them and why they are a subject of your attention. The French also refrain from sharing too much personal information with anyone other than very established friends and family. To talk about your dating life or a frustration with a peer may embarrass a French person. Coming on too strong will mark you as a part of the out-group. Hugging French people. While we may consider les bises, the little cheek kisses, intimate and personal, if we think about it, hugging is body to body in a full embrace. The bis is a simple brush of the cheek. Start to the left, gently touch faces, making a kissing noise, and move to the other cheek, repeating the sound. Another distinguishable characteristic of high and low cultures is their orientation to time. As a high context culture, time is viewed as more open, less structured, more responsive to the immediate needs of the people, and less subject to external goals and constraints. When in France, go to a cafe for lunch, sit down outside, enjoy a meal slowly. You'll most likely have from between noon and 2. Expect to be at dinner for a couple hours as well. Eat slowly and finish all of your food. Not finishing is a sign of not enjoying. Do not expect appointment times to be rigid. In France, there is what is called a polite 15. When going to a dinner party or arriving at home, showing up too promptly may seem aggressive or startling and rushing the homeowner. A low score on Hofstede's masculinity-femininity dimension means that the dominant values in a society are caring for others and quality of life. A feminine society is one where quality of life is the sign of success, and standing out from the crowd is not admirable. The fundamental question is what motivates people: wanting to be the best, masculine, or liking what you do, feminine. France is a somewhat feminine culture. We see this indicated in its welfare system, the 35-hour working week, 5 total weeks of holiday per year, and its focus on the quality of life. You may feel that people are being lazy for not opening up shops on Sundays or between 12 and 2 p.m. every day. As Americans, it may be overwhelming to find that absolutely nothing is open to feed or entertain you. But try having a calendar with all holidays and basic store hours marked, and navigate your grocery store runs and plans accordingly. Maybe plan to throw a dinner party on a holiday with your friends to fully take advantage of the culture of having guaranteed time to enjoy each other's company. In a feminine culture like France, refrain from asking people how much their personal items cost or from flaunting a new purchase of your own. At meals, you can observe and respect feminine culture by never starting to eat until everyone has been served or drink until everyone has a drink. You may also offer to serve people if an item is close to you. A final element of French culture that is often misinterpreted by Americans is nationalism. Nationalism derives from a desire to preserve, protect, and defend what is seen as unique but threatened, such as the culture's language, religion, values, or way of life. France, for example, is very vigilant about keeping non-French words from their national language. France is one of the few European countries that you may not be immediately embraced with an English hello once it is detected that you are American. They are not unhappy you are there or annoyed that you are American. They are just proud of their country and are actively working to preserve its culture. With a recent revolutionary history and a prideful advance on the world stage, it makes sense that the French attempt to keep what they fought for pristine. Do your best to learn at least a few French phrases, such as, "I'm sorry I don't speak much French. Do you speak English?" The French are also extremely proud of their perfected cuisine. Never speak badly of French food. Refrain from asking for a to-go box, as it is offensive to their perfect proportion sizes. And try not to ask for substitutes. If you have an allergy like me, request ahead of time and ask first thing when you get there. Don't complain about short hours or everything being closed on Sundays. The French fought hard for both and are very proud of their laws that reflect the care for the people. Try to frame French nationalism as beneficial for both cultures. The French are extremely proud to share their culture with you and hope to be excellent hosts by providing you an authentic experience immersed in the culture you chose to come see for yourself. Okay, now let's recap what we learned. France is a high context culture. So as Americans, we must not take personally what we are expected to ask to find out. In fact, we can consider it a compliment that the French assume we know the obvious. There are also norms that, if disrupted, will communicate the wrong message to the French and clearly mark us as part of the out-group, such as being too friendly to strangers, being too open about our personal lives, being too forward with physical touch, such as hugging, or being too prompt or constrained with our time. Hofstede considers France a feminine culture. Therefore, the dominant values of French society are caring for others and their quality of life. France's laws reflect care for their people. Workers get more time to their family, friends, and personal lives. While in France, take care to note holidays and common store hours to avoid meeting a closed sign when you're really hungry or counting on something to do. And finally, French nationalism, when expressed in a lack of willingness to speak English or to conform to your wishes, does not mean that the French are mad at you for being American. Nationalism simply comes from a desire to preserve, protect, and defend what is seen as unique but threatened. Do your best to learn at least a few French phrases and try to avoid unnecessary substitutions and modifications at restaurants. In conclusion, I hope that our discussion of France as a high-context, feminine, and nationalist culture has helped equip you to travel to France as a confident and competent intercultural communicator. Thank you for listening. Bon voyage!